Hello, everybody, and welcome to another one of DCT Recruitment's Icing on the Career Cake. And in a minute, we're going to be talking to Brett about his icing. What flavour icing would you be, Brett?
Oh, I'm not a huge icing fan. I'm a bit boring when it comes to cake.
Okay, you're a remove the icing, are you? You just
Vanilla
go straight for the cake?
A little bit of icing, a little bit, but not too thick.
Not too thick. Okay. A thin sliver of icing today on this particular cake as we talk to Brett about his business and how he got there. But Brett, before we even start, I need to mention the thing in the background there, because I haven't seen one of those for years. It's a filing cabinet.
I thought you were going to talk about the football.
No,
it's an Aussie football, so it's a bit of a different shape. But
I used to sell millions of those at one point. But then they all kind of disappeared. So
do you know what? It's funny you say that. It's got some important documents in there, but I don't think I've opened it for about 2 or 3 years. Actually,
there you go. It's all cloud-based now, isn't it?
You've just given the admin girl a job now to shred all that paper.
I know.
Put it online.
To be honest, a lot of it is like our office building here is the old Citizens Advice Bureau.
Right.
Building, and a lot of it is like old floor plans and things for the building.
Wow.
So I've not looked in there for a couple of years, but yeah.
Oh, that could be a task later on today then.
Yeah.
See whether you need a 4-drawer filing cabinet anymore. Even if you got it down to a 2-drawer, you could put a lamp on the top of it.
To be honest, I could probably fit it in a folder. To be honest.
Yeah. Well, let's start there. Tell us a little bit about what it is that you do, and maybe, because we've talked about things that have changed over time, how's your business changed over time as well?
Yeah, quite a bit. I mean, our business has probably changed quite a bit every single year it's been going. So for those who don't know, my name is Brett. I run Now Rooms Liverpool, which is obviously the logo here. We're a HMO lettings and management agency based in Liverpool. We manage property all over Liverpool and the Wirral and surrounding areas, St Helens, Widnes, Skelmersdale, a couple sort of dotted around there. But the vast majority of them are based in Liverpool and the Wirral. So again, if you don't know, HMOs are house of multiple occupation. So sort of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people living in a house. They all have their own bedroom individually, but then they share the living room and the kitchen, communal areas. So it's quite a popular model. People usually refer to it as student accommodation, which for the most part it is, but it's also, young working professionals and even people on social housing, universal credit, they can rent bedrooms as well. So it's a very popular model, and I think it's becoming more and more popular because it's convenient, it's affordable, and the supply and demand of housing in the UK, unfortunately, is quite stretched. So the model works really well. So we started in 2015. I moved up to Liverpool, beg your pardon, in the very end of 2015. And then we started Now Rooms the 2016. And like I say, every year I was in the right place at the right time. So the Liverpool market was growing quite a lot at that point. And it continued to do so up until June 2021, when the Liverpool Council brought in Article 4, which is basically a council imposed planning restriction, which removes your default right to just convert houses into HMOs across the vast majority of the city. So it did really slow the market down. It slowed our growth down a bit, but to my surprise, actually, we have still grown pretty consistently since then. I kind of had this thought that, oh no, when Article 4 comes in, everything's going to come to a screaming halt and we're not going to be able to continue growing and so on. But it hasn't been the case. We've still grown quite a bit, and every year our team gets more experienced and sort of more qualified, I think. And as the business gets bigger, we've been able to recruit more experienced candidates. And then obviously working with Diane has helped with the latest addition to the team, Claire. So she settled in a couple of weeks ago. They'd be coming on 4th week now, I think, 5th week, about a month. She settled in really nicely. She's head of sales and letting, so brings a lot of additional experience to the team. So it's very exciting.
Cool.
There's a long answer to your question about
that's absolutely fine. I've got to mention the logo for anybody that's listening and not seeing it as well. So it kind of looks like almost like a rosette with NR joined together in the middle, and then Now Rooms Liverpool underneath. It almost looks football-like. It's kind of a nod to kind of sporting achievement and stuff there. I feel there's a wrong shaped ball to the right of it. It's kind of the ball that I grew up with in Bedford, which is a rugby ball. But I'm almost surprised to see a rugby ball in Liverpool.
Yeah, no,
as opposed to
rare.
football.
Well, this one's an Aussie Rules Football, so
there you go.
Yeah, I grew up in South Australia playing Aussie Rules Football, which is, most people don't know it, but it is a bit of a mix between. Well, the easiest example is between rugby and American football, but it's not. It's like,
don't some people refer to it almost as no rules football as well?
Pretty much, yeah. It is brutal. It's a brutal sport. It's a fantastic sport. It's confusing to watch if you don't know what you're watching. I've been living
just looks
over
like a load of guys just attacking each other.
It looks like absolute chaos. It looks like chaos. And when you watch English football, it's like when they're filming the game, they're filming all the way from one side of the pitch, and the camera angle doesn't change. So if they're scoring left or right, Liverpool's going left and whoever's going right.
Yeah.
Whereas with Aussie Rules, the camera angle changes all the time. I didn't realize this when I lived in Australia, but it changes all the time, and it's a fast-paced game, very fast-paced, and it is confusing to watch if you don't know what you're watching. It's confusing to watch, but.
Do you know what, Brett? So we sponsored a sportsman lunch a few weeks back, and it was all like construction, property, and they were combining it with sport. So going on to that, do you think playing such a sport like that has allowed you to manage better as a leader, because you've got to think on your feet and you've got to be the team, because that was what all the connections was? Yeah,
it's an interesting question. I would say definitely. Like I was captain of my team, in the younger teams when I was growing up, and then I did play for North Adelaide, which is state level. So I played. I wanted to try and get drafted into the National League, but I missed out when I was 18. So that would have been wonderful to get drafted, but it didn't happen. So I think definitely playing at a high level. Because a lot of the guys, when I was playing the state level league, I was playing with a lot of guys who were on the national teams. They were in in the AFL. So training with those guys on a weekly basis definitely elevated my my comfort zone, my ability to push through, my ability to push myself and to lead myself, let alone my team. And then like I say, when in the younger groups, I was kind of always naturally captain or close to being captain. So the leadership skills definitely, and working hard and pushing yourself and realizing what you're capable of. I think I definitely, derived a lot of those qualities from my sporting career. For sure.
I think
Go on.
I was going to say, I think I want to see you integrate that into team building sessions with your team.
Nice.
Get them playing Australian rules football. I think that'd be great.
I won't have any team left. Broken ankles and. But it's a good idea. So team sports. I mean, we did do. We were doing five-a-side football and that a little bit here and there. So I definitely the challenge with team sports is obviously with our team is we've got 8 or 10 of us in the office and all completely different walks of life. So athletic abilities and athletic interests range quite a bit, but it has been something we've done in the past. So, yeah.
There you go. And I want to know as well, why Now Rooms? I mean, it could have been an album title as well. Now that's what I call Rooms Liverpool.
Everyone. Do you know what? The amount of people who phone up and say, "Oh yeah, is this New Rooms?" Everyone thinks it's New Rooms. I'm like, well, it's actually got an O, but anyway. So
It's a
Now
talking point.
Rooms. And the idea I think originally was like Now TV and Right Now, and everything's instantaneous and no one wants to wait these days. Everyone wants to click a button and have the Uber arrive out the front or the pizza arrive out the front or both within 5 minutes. So everything's now, everything's quick. And I think part of our sort of ethos is obviously we don't allow our tenants to sit with issues. Every day we hear issues on viewings where tenants are moving in or doing viewings with us and they're moving out of their current estate agents, accommodation, or their landlord or their purpose-built student stock in town, whatever it is. The stories that we hear continuously, and everyone hears of like slum landlords and the TV shows and that, and you think, oh, surely that's not really happening anymore these days. It is. It is. Like, it still happens today. I was talking to a girl the other day and she was saying she didn't have any hot water for weeks on end. Like, it's just, that's not normal. That's not right. But believe it or not, it still happens quite a bit. And I couldn't say if it's particular agents or landlords in particular, but just generally throughout the industry, there are still tenants who are still not receiving anywhere near the level of service they should be, or could be. And I think, doing things quickly, getting things resolved quickly is a bit of the ethos behind. I wouldn't say that's why it was called Now Rooms. It was more the Now TV concept, but
yeah, but that's good. That's a good brand to say why it is that. You want to be known to be fast and efficient. And sort things out before they become bigger problems. So it's a good take on the name, really.
Well, Diane's got like a double entendre, if you like, for DCT, haven't you?
Yeah. Let's test. Did anyone know what it stands for? Yeah. Well, obviously you too, Graham. Do you know what DCT stands for, Brett?
I feel like I should. Can you give us a hint? Direct. No.
No, so delivering careers together. So mine's similar. So with my initials, but I wanted it to feel like we're working together. So because you've put Claire through us, so we come, come to the establishment, like you said, you've worked with other agencies and they've not really come to see your culture. So we want to feel like we're part of your culture, part of your DNA, part of you. So we find you the right fit of the candidate. And also that means we can explain that to the candidates and see whether it's right for them as well. Because we want a three-legged stool approach where it's yourself, us and the candidate, and we're all working in unison together. And hopefully don't have to fill the role a second time. We want to actually fix your problem and then be able to move on and help in other areas. So, that's
brilliant.
Why I'm
Can I give you a quick little shout out, actually, Diane, on that note? Because you definitely did. I think, Graham, just for your reference as well, we've worked with, 6 or 8 recruiters probably on and off over the years. And Diane was the second of all of them to ever pop out to the office. There was only ever one other one. And I would say, definitely, what's the careers together? What's the first word? Developing careers. Delivering careers together, yeah. Definitely the process working with yourself, Diane, when you came out, you kind of set my expectations quite a bit. I don't think Claire would have settled in, or she wouldn't have arrived and I wouldn't have settled in as quickly if not for that visit when you came out and we were talking about, change of roles and, your experience with, personnel training and the phases that you go through. It was all very relevant. And Dawn as well, my colleague Dawn, who's head of HR for the group. We're having a good chat about it. I think it all played a part because the thing with recruiters is, by the nature of the business model, they're placing someone to get a fee. So they claim to care, but they don't really show it a lot of the time, which was not the case with yourself, Diane. So, so hats off to you.
Thank you very much. Because obviously, you do want to do that, but I want to build a partnership that you want to come back again, and don't just want a quick fee and be gone. You might not use us for another year, 2 years, you never know, but, hopefully we make that lasting impression and it's memorable. That's what it's about, So, that's where I want to change the perception of recruitment in some ways. Yeah.
So well, keep doing what you're doing. I'm sure you will, For sure. You've changed my perspective anyway. For sure.
Just going outside of both of your businesses for a minute. I mean, is that kind of just an important part of growing any business these days? Is to find a way of doing something slightly disruptive or slightly different from what everybody else is doing?
I think you have to be different or better or both. Generally, you can't just do what everyone else is doing and expect to do more of it. It has to be, something has to be different or better or both. I thought you were going to refer to the recruitment there. I was going to say the biggest lesson I learned in business is you can only grow to the size of your team and the quality of your team, and the quality of your team is governed largely by the quality and the direction of the director. So this was probably one of the things I in the early days of Now Rooms, I was more busy on trying to build the business and then bring the team in to service the business. Whereas when I started to realize that the other way around, it's like, no, you build your team and then that team can handle the new business. So now my focus has been more on the team and letting the team grow the business rather than me running out trying to grow the business and then trying to find the people to help me manage the business, to deliver the service. So that's definitely been a shift for me. I don't know. What would you say, Diane?
I think, yeah, definitely, the first few years, I think as an owner, you are the business, aren't you? You are the one that's grown it. And I feel like I'm on that tipping where you're changing, a little bit more, but you are as good as anyone in the team, and you need the business to function without you in it. So to do that, you need talent in your business. And I think there's so much talent around that, the reason I say about like learning people's culture and learning like what actually do they want in a candidate is probably more important than the skill set. So if somebody's got 7 out of the 10 skills you need, well, you can upskill the staff, but you can't find that culture, that, the values that they mirror your company mission, your company values. That is what will take your company from X amount to the next amount, more so than skill. You can put someone on a training course, you can put someone next to someone already in your business, you can teach them anything. If I look at myself, I didn't know anything about recruitment. I actually paid for my CV, believe it or not, when I left McDonald's. So, but my skills that I'd learned were very transferable. Everything's all about people. It's all about listening. It's all about understanding. And I think that's probably why we are different. That is my USP. And that's what I try and explain to clients is the diamond in the rough is probably the one that isn't fully polished. It's the one that thinks similar to you. You've got the same values to you. You can teach the rest. That's
I agree. We recruit on values over experience all day, every day. And
but I took your values because it's on your wall, isn't it? So I told and then I could send them to Claire before the interview, so she's got an understanding of your business as well. So that was really good that you'd have them on the wall. To be fair,
nice.
What's been the hardest thing for you, Brett, about growing a team to the size that it is now? Because every time you take somebody else on into a business like yours, you've just got almost a perfect family together. They're working together, they're gelling together, and then you've got to bring a stranger in.
Yeah.
Or take someone out. How difficult is that balance?
It is difficult. It's probably the most difficult thing I'd say in running a business, and the reason being is because people are filled with emotions and desires and ambitions and concerns and doubts and life problems, and people are complex. So as an employer, a lot of your team's issues come through to you, whether it's personally, professionally, or whatever the case may be, and obviously it's your job to guide and lead and support them and help them as best you can, whether that's 5 minutes to cry on the shoulder or a few words of advice or sometimes making a difficult decision and realizing, oh, actually, you've outgrown the role, or we've outgrown you, or something's not aligning here anymore, and having to make a decision and call an end to it. In any case, I think building the team is definitely the most complex part of running a business, for me anyway, because marketing is simple. You put an ad out that meets someone's criteria and it grabs their attention. Finance is simple. It's spreadsheets kind of, and accounting softwares do it all for you. Signing up clients, to me, that's quite natural. So I find that easy. I find kind of every layer of the business quite natural and quite, I'm not trying to downplay what business owners do, but business is pretty simple. Business is pretty simple. It's not
until you get to people.
Until you get to people, and that's where it becomes wildly unpredictable. Say again.
People is the one thing you can't control.
Exactly.
Control them, I don't mean it in that aspect, but it's the one thing you just cannot do. We know that. I can do every single step the same with a candidate, and it can just not work for you for whatever reason, and that's because people are complex, but without...
And they change as well. People change,
But people have always been complex, right? And
exactly.
The thing is that what's changed, the bit that's really changed in business is the fact that years ago, people just did what they were told.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's how business was structured years ago, right? You went to work for someone. You were brought up like that. You were literally brought up being told, like, when you go to school, you do what the teachers tell you, right? And then when you go to work, you do what your boss tells you.
Yeah.
You don't argue, right? And now it's different, right?
Yeah.
We need leaders now in every walk of life need to be interested in everybody's life as well as their work, because that whole thing is completely integrated now.
Definitely. And also to follow on from that point as well, I'd say, back in the day, it was not uncommon to stay with a company 10, 15, 20 years, or even your whole career. Whereas now, loyalty, it's much harder to come across. And even if you do genuinely really, really care about your team, like my team, everyone knows my team are my proudest achievement by far, because it is the most complex thing to get right. And the team we've got now is the best it's ever been, the strongest it's ever been, and the most congruent that it's ever been. So to me, that is the greatest achievement. And it's taken me more or less 10 years to get there. And like I say, people change, like I change, we all change. So, what's working now, it won't be the same in 6 months' time. It just won't, because things evolve. So, people don't tend to stay working at one company for,
it's much more like football now.
Much more than 10 years is rare. It's very rare.
Isn't it? It's much more like football now.
Yeah. Just traded around for the highest bidder.
Well, yeah, but also, if you bring someone in from the youth team, and you train them and you develop them and you bring them up, you'd expect them to go at some point.
Your competitors will come along and tap them on the shoulder as soon as they're ready.
I think that's the bit that people have to understand is, you're a better employer if you allow people to go and spread the wings, and if you make them feel that if they do want to go or they do want to support, then that's fine. I always say to my staff, look, if it becomes not for you, then just say, I'll actually probably help you and guide you where you'd probably be next, or you do whatever, and having that transparent and open relationship, I think, is what people need, because they need to feel safe that they can voice, their concerns or voice their opinion, and not be like, for perm roles, it can be where some people can get counterbalance offers. You've gone through all that process, you've got people through it, this, and I always ask, is that going to be the case? Have you spoken to your employer? Have you this, have you that? And they're like, oh, no. You should be able to have a safe space that you do say to someone, look, these are my concerns, and if they're not, fixed, then I'm going to start looking somewhere else, or I'm going to start this. And that's nothing bad to you if you just can't do that currently in this climate in your business or whatever, then unfortunately they're my non-negotiables. And
well, it works both ways as well, doesn't it?
yeah.
I mean, ultimately, if someone's not right in your team at any given point, then, you know, how you let that person go, you know, says something about you as well. I mean, you know, do you help them into the next job? Do you actively look for them? Do you have conversations for them? Do you encourage them to do everything?
And feedback as well. Like, I mean, it sounds weird, but I was having this conversation the other day. I was saying to someone that I don't mind firing people, and it sounds cold and callous, but the reason behind it is because, one, I don't have to do it very often, but two, when I do, there's a reason for it, and it's because the candidate's not in the right position and we're not the right company for the candidate. So I look at it as like a clean break, and you're actually giving them an opportunity. And let's be honest, there's no shortage of jobs around, certainly not in our industry. So it's not like they're going to be sitting at home unable to pay the rent. They'll be able to find another role. It's just, for whatever reason, it might not be with us. And the other thing as well is, like, when candidates do leave, like, you just have to accept it. It's part of life, part of business. Like, I mean, going back a couple of years now, we used to have, it wasn't a common thing. It happened two or three times, where we'd hired someone who didn't have any industry experience, and basically sort of brought them in at the grassroots, and they come in, worked with us for a couple of years, and then ended up getting poached by some of the larger agents in town. There's not really much you can do about it. You're not going to lose sleep over it, but in some ways, it's actually kind of makes me feel proud that I've built a company that's actually helping people getting a leg up in their own careers. And even though I'm the one who kind of invested in getting them up on their feet, and then you kind of lose them, it is what it is. It's like, as a business owner that takes responsibility, you just accept the fact that, okay, well, we're here, we're this size, they're here, they're that size. What do we need to do? It's
also is a testament to your career development as well.
Exactly, yeah. How can I be a better employer where people don't want to go to the bigger agent? They want to stick with us. So Diane actually gave me quite a bit of insight about that sort of psychology when she first popped out here as well. And I think it's all the little things. Like, as a business owner, you're so busy. Well, I'm much more focused on sort of business growth and development. That's my skill set, and that's where I lean to. So I'm always sort of looking, what's next, what's down the line, 6 months, 12 months. And sometimes I overlook, this is the other thing as well, you know, sometimes I overlook the importance of the little things that matter to the team. That's a mistake I've made in the past, and something I'm trying to get better at. And following on from that point as well is the fact that the team, this is my biggest mistake in business, is making the assumption that my team see things the way I do. Yeah. And it took me a while to understand that. It took me a good while to understand just how differently we see things, but also why. And ultimately, I think I overlooked. I never saw my team as like, oh, they're my team, they work for me. I always thought that we were a team and we work together. So I kind of disrupted that hierarchy a little bit. And for that reason, I just thought, well, you know, we're all in this together. And it took me a while to realize that we're not all in it together. It's my business. They work for me, and they're never going to see it the way I see it, because it's not their business.
Have you ever read any of the Thomas Erickson books?
No, but I feel like I should. What's that? Oh,
Thomas Erickson is kind of like the forefather of like color mapping people.
Oh, yeah, like the blue, red.
Yeah.
Blue, red, and green, yeah.
That's what we spoke about, wasn't it, Brett? We spoke about.
Is that what it is? Yeah, I do know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Some people take it down like the disc mapping side of things as well.
Yeah,
but I love the titles of these books, and what's really quite fun about it as well is that he comes up with these great titles, and they sound really rude, but actually when you read them and you look behind what he's talking about, you completely get the point. So like his first book was like called Surrounded by Idiots. But that's actually sometimes how a business owner that starts a business feels, right? I've got all of these people around me and they're all idiots. They don't think like I do, etc. And he's got another one called surrounded by psychopaths, etc. What he explores within his books is the relationship between you and other people, and why you're not necessarily getting how other people think.
Yeah.
Right. And it's all about, once you understand that you do not think like other people do, and maybe why they think the way that they do and react the way they do to different things, then you can start to meet them somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
And you need to have different people as well, because if you are all the same, then that's a colossal disaster in itself.
Absolutely. And that's,
I'm a firm believer, running a business is, you want people who are better at things than you are. So, for instance, Brett, you're really good at sales. Yeah, you want maybe someone else who's good at sales. That's great. But, you want probably someone who's really good at admin then, and really good at putting processes in place, really good at doing the things that need to happen when the sale comes in. Otherwise, there's no point bringing all the sales in.
Oh, yeah. If you get a whole load of salespeople together, which, I mean...
No admin happens.
Yeah, under that colour scheme would be yellow, for example, then nothing will get done.
Just sit around fist pumping each other.
Yeah, it's like, I've done loads of BS. I've achieved this today. I've achieved this today. Have you actually put it anywhere useful, like on the CRM, or updated the spreadsheet, or sent an info? No, I haven't done any of that. But I have got the sale. Yeah. Brilliant. Nothing to actually bring the money in, but you've got the sale. Brilliant. But that's why you need those different people at different parts of the process, right?
Yeah.
Some people really get off on that. Some people are like structure, organizer, and a bit of push and pull within the business as well. It's really good. But no, they're great books. I'd highly recommend them in terms of like getting people to read them and then understand, maybe that's why they're like that and I'm like this, and it's okay. It's okay that we're really different here. I want to ask you about your business. What are some of the most common sort of misunderstandings or sort of misconceptions that people have about what your kind of sector, what you do?
Good question. I think the most obvious one is a lot of, I don't know how relevant this is anymore, but I think generally speaking, the preconceived notion of HMOs is that they're full of, overcrowded, unregulated squalors, basically, which I think obviously in times gone by, that probably was the case. Today, there may still be a couple of those outliers. The stories I was talking about before with the poor service that the tenants are receiving in the market today, that's not so much about, overcrowding and poor conditions. It's just about basically landlords who aren't proactive with resolving their maintenance. That's what predominantly those stories relate to. But yeah, I think now the preconceived notion that HMOs are squalors and they're not good quality accommodation, I think that's probably the biggest one. And it couldn't honestly be further from the truth. I think we've got nearly 800 rental units under management across Liverpool. And it's probably fair to say the vast majority of those are better than the apartment that I live in. They're really nice, some really nice accommodation these days. And I mean, a lot of them are sort of brand new, big ensuite bedrooms. So, my apartment's not bad, but it's not as nice and fancy as a lot of the properties. So that's probably the biggest one, that the quality. What else? I think.
Do you not find though there's a different caliber of people now that living in a HMO, because there's a lot of contractors that work away and have to do, live in a HMO. My partner works away, he works on HS2, so he has to do that, which when he first went, it was a big culture shock. And his first one in Leamington Spa was okay, but it wasn't great. His new one now that he's in Bromsgrove, there's only 4 people, but the house is stunning. Where it is, it's amazing, and it's an ensuite and everything. So to what you say, you'd be fine in it, you're happy. But also with the cost of living and stuff for people now, by being able to rent a full house or an apartment for yourself, it's quite costly, isn't it? So it's an affordable way to be able to live a little bit independently as well, for new people wanting to move out of the parents' home or whatever. Does that make sense? You know, they're not as bad as they used to be in no way, you know.
Yeah.
I don't think.
No, it's convenient and affordable, and like I say, a lot of them are really, really nice properties, like really well presented, high. Like I consider some of them high-end accommodation. You can't really get much higher than some of the ones we manage. I mean, with the exception of sort of city centre, like really ultra high-end, but some of the accommodation we manage is as high as residential accommodation can get. You know.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's
there's some quite interesting entrepreneurship going into that sector as well. I mean, there's people building buildings with like communal kitchen spaces. I've seen on TV, like they've got individual living areas, and then they've got communal kitchens, and they're even doing things like teaching people to cook. In those communal spaces.
Yeah, I lived in one. Well, sort of. It's like it's a big building down on the waterfront, next to the Malmaison, and so I lived in there for a couple of years, and it's kind of like a big HMO. It's I don't know how many apartments, and a few hundred apartments in a massive apartment complex, and it had like a communal cinema room and big dining room and gym, on-site gym and everything. So it was kind of like a big HMO on steroids, basically.
Love that.
But instead of renting a bedroom, there was like 800 apartments or something. And so you had like your own apartment and then the communal areas. So I think the idea of communal living is definitely becoming more and more sort of favorably looked upon, because I think people are lonely these days as well. That's a big part of what we do. You know, we manage properties, but we're actually looking after people's well-being as much as just about anything. And I think I'm going to go off on a tangent here. Cleanliness and tidiness within people's homes, I think, impact people's well-being quite considerably. And you can see, we see, you know, if someone loses their job, they tend to stay home. And then, I'm not saying always, but sometimes they tend to turn to substances, and then it just goes downhill quickly. And then they change as people, and the situation and their livelihood and everything becomes quite deteriorated. And sometimes it can happen quite quickly. So if you're not looking after the environment, if you're not, you know, remaining in close contact with those tenants and, you know, trying to keep in touch with them, and not, obviously you need to collect rent for your landlord, but there is a fine line. And obviously if someone's in a situation like that, you're not pestering them. You're trying to work with them, trying to help them get back on their feet. And then once they are on their feet, then, you know, things tend to even out pretty quickly once they get back on their feet. But I think the cleanliness and looking after their home and their environment, that definitely helps play a part, you know.
Sorry, Graham, just a thought on that, Brett. If that does become the case, that's where we could collaborate, you know, or feel free to share my details if anybody gets into that situation where they've got no job, then, you know, feel free to share.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
We can have a chat.
Work as well, isn't it?
Yeah, or either, well, it depends, whatever it is, you know. Sometimes the universe has a very strange way of looking after things for you, you know. A chat can lead to many things, so I'm not going to say I can fix it for everyone, but, you know, definitely just send them towards us and we can see what we can do and help people, you know. Even temporary work, getting a CSCS card is quite easy and quick to then jump as a labourer on a site, or we do hospitality. So, you know, there's something.
I think that really came out in the episode that we did with the two ladies from the community centre as well, because, you know, that one lady came in and, you know, it was part-time, wasn't it, to begin with?
Yeah,
and then
she was volunteering.
She was volunteering. She's ended up like running a particular aspect of it. I mean, it's, you know, and then she can see what that's giving back to the community. That stuff's brilliant. That, you know, it's giving purpose back to people's lives, isn't it? Which is on both sides, which is brilliant. So
I think you need to kind of find little strokes of purpose, I guess, in what you do. Like if I was only, you know, managing team, fixing leaking taps, we'd probably get a little bit bored. But it's all like the other bits that go with it. Like, you know, we've had some of our tenants fall in love and get married and have kids and
Wow.
things like that. Like it kind of, it is nice. It's rewarding. And I think matching, going back to the environments and trying to help people live in the most sort of well-maintained and looked after environment. It's not just the leaking taps getting fixed, it's who they're living with as well. And sort of just tying back into my previous point about the communal living, I think that's becoming more and more at the forefront of a lot of people's minds these days, because it's a bit of an isolated world really with all the technology. So
have you got a subsidiary company, Love Rooms Liverpool?
We should do, yeah.
Yeah.
wedding
Love Rooms
planners.
Liverpool with the app, Oh, I like that room, and they look nice.
Yeah, I'll sign up myself, Graham.
Come rent a room off us and we'll find you have an offer.
No, strict boundaries. But
what a great idea.
Recently divorced, so I need to find some sort of bedroom.
Well, there you go. There we go. We're just putting that out there. This is maybe seen by a few people. If you like what you see, just get in touch.
Subscribe below. Oh, no.
How can people help you, Brett? If businesses are seeing this, or
thank you for asking. I would say any experienced property managers or lettings agents who want to join a young team. Yeah, young. We're all young. I mean, I'm in my early 30s, and I'm kind of the average. Most of us, sort of 20s, 30s. One of the things I heard about our team the other day is that, which is rare for estate agents, apparently. I've never worked in an estate agency, and apparently the culture is very much dog eat dog. Everyone will stand on each other's head to try and climb to the top. Not really any loyalty amongst colleagues. They'll throw each other under the bus with a moment's notice, and none of that washes around here. No, we don't have any of that. I wouldn't tolerate it. I wouldn't accept it. I don't have the energy for it. Everyone works as hard for each other here as they do for themselves, and everyone will go out of their way to help each other and build each other up. And I think the environment we have here is very harmonious. So, but we're all keen to learn and grow and progress. We don't want to be sitting in the same position doing the same thing in 5 years' time. We all want to learn and grow and take on more responsibility and develop as professionals. So anyone who wants to join a team like that, by all means, introductions, great. Because the business, actually, we are quite selective about the business we take on nowadays. In the early days, I was out running around networking like a madman and just bringing in as much business as I could. Now, fortunately, we have sort of the portfolio of clients, so the business is organically coming to us by referrals. So for me, it's about finding the right team members before we take on the extra business. Going back to the comments earlier, I don't need to look for business. It sounds a bit arrogant, but we know the business is all there. So for me, it's a matter of building slowly and carefully, block by block, building the right team, and then letting that team handle the business when it comes back in. So team members, probably that's the biggest thing I'd say. Team members and business comes as a result, to be honest. What else do we need help with? Probably introductions into the universities, actually. That's been something that's been getting mentioned quite a bit recently. So we've been on a lot of, we do probably 20% of our students, 20% of our tenants are students. The other 80%, give or take, working professionals. And a lot of the students are saying, finding a student accommodation, there's different portals where you can just look for student-specific accommodation. But for when you're leaving university and you're trying to find bedrooms as a professional, there's not really that extra level of support, number one, to find the room. And two, you're kind of relying mostly on spare room and having to trawl through all the spare room adverts. And for those who don't know, spare room is like the Rightmove equivalent for renting bedrooms. But it is, I'll keep my comments to myself because I don't want to get blocked from the platform. It's an old platform, and it doesn't really evolve too much. And I think people are spending a lot of time trying to trawl through loads of adverts to try and find the right one for them. So I'd say an introduction to a housing officer or something like that at universities, so that they know that there's an agent here who has basically any option you want across all of Liverpool, Northwest really, for the most part, Merseyside, and we can provide you whatever option you want anywhere in town, really.
I'm going to look up an old contact afterwards. A contact that was looking after student rooms around the country, he was looking after about a third of student rooms around the country for some kind of organisation.
Nice.
I'll see if he's still doing that.
Yeah, there was a girl who used to live with, work for us when I was in Manchester. I'm not too sure where their area covers, but even probably people coming out of Manchester Uni wanting to come back to Liverpool would still need your services, wouldn't they, Brett? I do know in the university, I'm not too sure whether an avenue will get you, but I can have a conversation. So
nice one. Thank you, guys.
There you go. That's what it's all about. Now, before we go today, and thank you so much, Brett, for joining us this conversation. I do think we need to go back to the Now Rooms bit, which, as I say, I do think needs its own playlist, because it does sound like it could be one of those CDs from the 80s, 90s, etc. Do you argue about music in the office? Is there no music in the office? Do you have?
No, the radio is always on. It's always, I don't know what station it is. It's always playing some, I don't know, music. I'd say, what have we got? We've got a bit of a mix. So it's pretty evenly split between guys and girls. Age ranges is sort of mid-20s to mid to late 30s, I think. I wouldn't say football. There's a little bit of a divide on football teams.
Yeah, I think you should get them to put together a playlist. They can select one or two tracks each. That'd be good.
Yeah, we should do. Yeah,
there's certainly songs that they're not allowed to pick on there, like "Living in a Box."
What? What's that?
"Living in a Box," the song.
What song's that? Should I know this?
Oh yeah.
I probably would. I don't know. I'm shocking when it comes to the names of songs.
It's just because he does music podcasts, so he knows everything to do with music.
You know, "Living in a Box."
Are you going to sing it for me, Graham?
Well, it literally goes, "Living in a box."
Living in a box. Living in a cardboard box.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely.
From the 80s, you're too young, Brett.
Maybe I don't.
It's definitely not a song to represent your business.
We'll take that one off the list, but we'll see what else they come up with.
Yeah. Men at Work.
Men at Work. Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, there you go. Come from a land down under. Brett, thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks so much for the conversation. If you want to contact Brett, please do. We'll put Brett's contact details in and around this as it goes out. And we'll be back soon for more conversations. If you'd like to take part in a conversation, do get in touch with us. We'd love to hear your story. If it's any good, we'll get in touch with you. We'll be back soon. Until then, from Brett, Diane, and myself, bye for now.
Thanks, guys.